You make more money per hour than the small percentage we take to manage your property, then you really should be using a property manager.
When you get to a point when you're able to actually invest in properties, and it should be an award.
Life situations, there's not a one-size-fits-all for property management. Not all companies will do that, but we are flexible because we want to help people. We're not here just to make money. We're here to help and raise the bar of what property management is. So.
Welcome to today's show, Legacy Insiders. Bill and Casey here. Today we are going to try to break down just some of the details of property management, break down, what it is, do you need one, what are they responsible for, just kind of peel back the curtain on property management itself and kind of give you more of an inside look of property management. And yeah.
All right. Well, yet again, I'm Bill Dean.
Casey Bernard. It's Friday. Been a long week. Bill just got back from vacation and working, and it's been a long week. Friday, so cheers to Friday.
Cheers to that. Yeah, still excited to sit here and discuss and talk about this because it is a very critical question any investor has to ask themselves, because your first property might not be that crazy unless it's a big multifamily, but really, what is property management? When should you take it? What is it even here for? So one of the things is like, what do most owners think property management is? Like, before you got into it, what do you think property management was?
Collecting rent and taking all your extra money.
Well, I mean, we definitely had we had a duplex we managed, and the owner had just a terrible time, and we had inherited it from a different company, and all we could do is get it marketable and sell it for him because they were too scarred. And he said, I swear to God, owning rentals is just for property managers.
Ran it to the ground.
Yeah. So,
collecting rent, answering maintenance calls, 24-hour maintenance, and then filling vacancies. That's kind of the core three.
I mean, that's what everyone thinks it is. Like, all you're here to do is make sure that the unit's filled, that the rent's collected, answer the phone. But that's like this much. I mean, it is such a small part of what actually happens when we're doing property management.
And on an earlier conversation I had today, we were talking about the dollar amount and value. And when property managers are literally only doing those three things and they're charging all this stuff, that's where the perception comes from, like, why you guys make too much money. And then on the other side, people are getting into property managers or property management because they think it's that simple. And that's all it is I literally have to just coordinate a maintenance dude. I got to fill your unit, and I also have to collect rent. And so there's all this misconception of how it's easy money and it's easy to get into and it's easy to do. It can be simple, but it's definitely not easy, and it's definitely not passive.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, for myself, I self-managed for almost 9 years before we started Legacy. And even then, we were managing. So it was my properties plus other owners. So I would say, I mean, I haven't filled my own unit for the first time in 14 years in, and it's only been a year that I haven't put a tenant in something, or a year and a half. So it's definitely a transition, but because I was owner of the property and then I was managing my own plus others, and then got to the point where I now have a team that's helping manage. I mean, even just the things that I want to see versus getting the team to do it is a trick. I mean, it's, if I wanted to stay small, managing 5-10 units, that's not too terrible, but it's still 10 hours a week probably.
Yeah.
But when you want to scale and you want to get systems in place to do it better, then it really starts to add up. Because if we didn't want to offer what we offer, I'm sure we could have half the team and have half the results. And
short-term adds to the complexity of that as well.
Yeah.
When you get a long-term one, you're in there for a year, 6 months, or whatever. But short-term, it's actually running a multifamily in a small deal. So.
Yeah. So just so everyone understands, like when we say short-term, so there's long-term, which typically means 3 months or more, but most people say 6 months or more. And then there's midterm, which is not a real thing. And actually, depending on your state, There is a legal difference between long-term and short-term as far as taxes go. But that's typically, 3 months to 6 months. And then short-term is considered anything from a one-night stay to a month. And when we first started, we were doing all of it. And we had some success. It definitely helped us getting going. But we realized that for us, for legacy, midterm and long-term is where we want to be. Where we're going to have a guest that's going to be around long enough that it's worth them being in our system, having access to all the tools, being insured, versus the shows up for one night, gets hammered, gets himself in the door at 1 a.m, then we get a 1-star review because our 4-button lock was too complicated. No scar tissue here, as you can tell.
100%. So, Bill, what is property manager? What is it actually? Can you define it in whatever?
Well, I think real property management is something that you say all the time. A real property management company is focused on being proactive, which covers a lot of things. So reactive means, you're chasing late rent, you're fixing problems. Proactive means you're actually going out and you're planning financially. Like, we know what months we're going to have the most.
And long-term.
Yeah, long-term, so down road. And then also knowing, taking care of problems ahead of time, and also how to limit them. So that whole topic could take a whole thing, but just making sure that you're covered in the right ways and doing things that will prevent disasters down the road. And then even just efficiency in an operation. We're even in the age of technology, it's actually almost funny. I was thinking about that on the way over here. It's still the human touch that matters more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, AI could probably do 100% of the process, but it's not a human. It's not that welcome to your home feeling.
Yep.
It's why most hotels still have someone at the front desk. So you have someone to talk to. And then, even if you're doing a great job, if no one knows what you're doing, especially the owner or the tenant, they put in a request and the guy knocks on their door, but there's no communication from the time they put in the request to that knock, they're upset, even if you fix the problem. So communication is huge. So it's a lot of things, but really it's being proactive, thinking ahead, protecting yourself, the owner and the tenant, and then communicating what you're doing. So, let's dive into financial oversight as the term. What's important to you?
The 4 that we broke it down were to was number 1, financial oversight. Number 2, risk management. Number 3, operations, which you covered a lot right there. And then communication is literally, communication is across the board.
Yep.
I always like the saying, your quality of life is your quality of communication. And I think the quality of your business is the quality of your communication as well. And that trickles over to your client experience, which is your owner, right?
Yep.
So, quick touch on the technology stuff. We do need the human factor of it.
Yep.
I don't think that's ever going to go away. AI is the future, and I don't think that the human factor is ever going to go away. But I do know that it does take tasks. It helps. Our brains aren't designed to remember stuff. They're designed to process things. And when we can take technology and put that in and to design an environment and to design a system where you don't forget stuff, it makes it flawless. And for me, I also run a remodeling company and then this company. And for legacy, it's if one little step gets missed on onboarding or any of it, it trickles down so much more communication, so much more stuff. So it's just imperative that you just don't miss anything as you go along those steps, because it just makes so much more stuff. And I think that's where a lot of property managers get themselves in trouble, is they're kind of handling their tunnel visioned on the one task. And once they're tunnel visioned on the one task, they're forgetting about all the other stuff that kind of can check mark all of this stuff off down and create chaos. So I do think technology has an awesome place in property management, where it can kind of take that thinking, because really when you break down property management, you have 2 clients. You have the owner and you have the tenant, and you really have 2 businesses within that.
Well, don't forget your vendors.
So it's exactly, and vendors. So it's really a complex entity. It's not just as simple as my remodeling company, where it's it's just the process. You literally have, it's way more complex.
Well, and like you were saying, in line with technology. I think it's easier, but the demands of today, like even when I started back in 2012, just the knowledge of what should be was so much different. And then as tenants got smarter, and then you start learning about, there's professional scammers, I'll say, out there, and there's just honest mistakes that I had to learn the hard way that I maybe theoretically could have known, but this sounds like one that burned me was, hey, I'm a contractor. Can I fix up this place in lieu of give me a discount off rent? Sure, sounds great. And then I walk into a Tootsie Roll house and I was like, what is this? Very, very dark brown wall and white trim and red curtains. This is gnarly. Well, I think this is worth, I spent a few hours on it, like $1,100. It's like, oh, well, that's your entire month's rent and you painted a room with Tootsie Roll. That's not going to work. And of course, that disagreement was only the start. So it was just not setting that expectation, not knowing, learning the hard way. But because of that, I mean, with both of our experiences, we've been able to, let's say, start ahead when we actually formed Legacy and really got this going. Because even on softwares, the first software we used did the job. And then when it got to reporting, it was terrible. We were uploading every single receipt, and at that time it was just me doing it for maintenance and whatnot, and I couldn't pull them up. And then I'm trying to go to an owner, show them a report, and they're like, "Well, what's this bill for?" I'm like, "Oh, it's this," but it's somewhere in the system. I just can't get it, and that's frustrating for me because I did the time to put it in. Frustrating for the owner because there's no proof that that was the actual receipt. I could have just been made up a number, even though whatever. So this kind of hits on point number one, which is financial oversight. But having that clarity of, is the bill I'm getting the bill that was actually meant to be, rather than, they remodeled my bathroom and I just see a total of $15,000. I don't see materials, I don't see labor, I don't see individual things. So just clarity is probably saying too much on this, but it was just, that is so important if you're going to be a real property manager. If you want to have a real property management company, just knowing what's actually happening, the dollars and the cents is huge. And that's just the reporting side. We had to onboard 100, or at that time, 130 doors. We had to switch over because we were so sick of that lack of reporting from the old system. The new system was I can click and everything I want to see was trackable. The reports were much easier to read. So, I mean, that is one of the most important things I would say.
So one thing that we've identified in our company is we understand how to read our software. We understand how to read that. But one of the things that we recently found out is it's not, everyone's a little different, and some people catch on really quick. Some other owners don't. We have an owner right now that I think we've shown them a couple times on how to just look at their portal, and their portal is, when you open it, it's very simple. There's literally 5 things on the side, and it's this dashboard that gives them all the metrics. If you were to think of your vehicle, of all the sensors inside your vehicle, and you're looking at your dashboard, you have your engine temp, you have your oil pressure, RPM. You have your RPM, very simple.
Miles per hour, yeah.
So sometimes, with this specific owner, we kind of thought that this was a simple dashboard to read, and it wasn't. So our solution for that is we are now going to have a little, we're going to add that to the onboarding part of where we kind of walk them through and guide them through that. For any owners that are listening, if you're getting your reports and you think that you need an accounting degree to read them, then your property manager isn't helping you. And it needs to be a long-term relationship. You guys should have a relationship. It's not a transaction. You're not buying a cheeseburger from your property manager company and eating it. This is literally, it's supposed to be a client. When you think about client versus customer, when you as a property owner, you're not a customer, you're a client. And your property manager should have the time, if they're managing your properties correctly, they should have the time to treat you as one. So they should be able to walk you through, someone on their staff. And when we talk about the financial oversight of your properties, when you get to a point when you're able to actually invest in properties, and it should be an award. It should be it should be this, we're trying to make it so you have a peace of mind, so you don't have to stress about your investment property. And I realize today's with the rates, we can go all off on that tangent, but we're just going to stick in the lane of basically what to look for in your property manager. You should be able to read your report clearly. You guys should agree on some sort of budget for maintenance, repairs, and you should be aligned with that. And it should align with your goal. Some properties, they might not be cash flowing, but you're still making an investment because you're leveraging, there's a leveraging risk there where you're leveraging to make your mortgage payment. And then expense control.
Actually, I have a great story from that today.
Yeah.
So we have a speaker coming, and his story is 0 to 50 million. And I had the opportunity to ask him, like, what's actually, someone else asked him, but for us to say, what do you look for in a property management company? And one of his things was do what they say they're going to do. And the other part was don't throw out the fridge when it's just a small repair. And you've had experiences like that too when you were working for the other company. Where, like, because I have units in the company, I get to see both sides of this too. But where it's like, okay, do we have to, like, oh, the dryer's slowing down. They throw out the dryer only to find out it was the dryer vent was clogged. Like, $75 cleaning versus a $600 machine. So,
and we can dive down that rabbit hole of repairman versus service technician, but just the 30,000 foot view of that is when you have a repairman, they're not really going to take the time to understand what's actually going on with your service. They're just going to throw parts at it. Yeah. When you have a proper service technician, they're actually going to take the time to diagnose it and leave you with options of, can you throw parts at this, or does it make more sense for your investment to actually purchase new?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a quick rule of thumb I've used in the past that, because it's a very real thing, to fix or to replace.
Yeah, so moral of the story with the financial oversight, if you're an owner listening to this, I want you to make sure that you can understand your numbers. If you're getting your report from your property manager and you do not understand it, and you're reaching out and trying to understand it, and they're kind of ghosting you around and playing you like an ex, that's a huge red flag. And I would search for something different. If you're paying really cheap property manager, that's probably the case, but you should really understand your numbers, and you should come to agreement with them on a budget so that you can run your properties for the long term, because this isn't a quick fix flip. Like, this is like, it's an investment. That's why they call them investment properties. It does take a while for that to happen, but you should understand what's happening. You should have control. So, I mean, that for me kind of wraps up that financial oversight. When we talk about risk mitigation, or risk management, however you want to label that, one of the things that really stands out for me, and I'll let you chime in, but when we take over a property and you're not properly, this could be a whole nother episode in itself, but when you're not properly and professionally screening tenants and you're just throwing tenants in your properties, to me, that is probably one of the biggest risks that you're throwing at your property. We have taken over a couple of properties that, and there is nothing against felons, absolutely nothing against felons. But statistically, what I have seen is the units that have all the doors kicked in, pushed in, drywall holes, and all that have some sort of correlation with that. And I'm not stereotyping them at all. But when you're just not screening tenants properly, when they don't have a job, when they're borrowing money to get a deal, you're like literally putting a ticking time bomb into your unit that is not only going to destroy your unit, but it's also, they have no respect of not only themselves, but any sort of property. And they're just, to me, and I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm just saying, like, there needs to be a proper screening thing. And when we took over, some of these properties, we were having 8, 9 evictions. And
like, now we're like the owner agreement that if we inherit tenants and we have to evict them because the last management company didn't do anything about lack of collection of rent, parties, whatever. It's like, we're going to have to actually charge you proactively because of how much time it takes us to then do the right thing and either get the money or get them out so that we can get the property back to where it needs to be.
Yeah, you really need to, like, that's one of the things with property management is they're literally there to protect your property. And if the property manager isn't treating it like their own, then I would probably look elsewhere. But because there's two lenses you can view that. You can view it as your own and an investment and a long-term seed and a long-term relationship, and you build all that. Or you can look at it like, okay, this is a quick buck for me, and that's why I got in the game, and I'm just trying to make money off these owners. And unfortunately, there are property managers out there with that mentality, trying to just get an easy pass-through buck off of the owners. And that's really, I think, what tarnishes the name of property management.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, there are niches in property management. Like, there are people who only do Section 8 or HUD or government voucher program. There are people who specialize in felon housing. There are people who specialize in halfway housing, which means they just came out of jail. I mean, there's a whole niche inside that that people play and make great money, and that's not what we're after. So there is a place, there is a lot with that. But the biggest thing is, when it comes to screening, is we have to play fair housing, which means we treat everyone the same. So that doesn't mean that we really can't make any exceptions. So my word of advice to you, if you're self-landlording, is just, you have to treat everyone the same. So make sure you have the same rules for everyone. It can't be, well, you're a felon, maybe we'll let 3 years go. And then the next person walks in the door like, oh, well, yours is 5. We can't accept that. It's 7. So just beware, set your standards and stick to it. It needs to be quite black and white, or at least consistent, because there are a variety of things to get arrested for, whether it's bad checks, parking tickets in some states, or straight up the bad stuff that everyone knows about. So that's my little caveat to that, is there are niches for felons and stuff like that, but also treat everyone the same, screen the same, so you can keep out of trouble. Because I mean, the next step, and the reason we're talking about it, is even if they get in the door, everyone can screw up at any time. I mean, I think it was a particular scenario where someone had absolutely clean record. They showed up, good credit score, sweet, put them in an affordable apartment, and within 6 months they got arrested for fentanyl. And it was like, what the heck? You're like an ace across the board. What did you do? I mean, things happen. Yeah. And that's where, we get one, who gets in matters. That's the screening process. But then after that, it's holding the line and making sure that you're holding them to the lease. So, don't get arrested, pay rent on time, don't let people stay who aren't on the lease, don't add pets without notification. I mean, the list is long, but really the basics are pay on time, respect the property, clean up after yourself, and let us know when you're ready to move out.
Yeah, really, it's, I look at car rentals, and they go out there. I rented a car one time, and you had the little magnifying glass with the ruler, and you had to go out there and take a picture of all the little nicks and everything that you saw in the vehicle. And where I'm getting at is, for some reason, these people live a certain way, and you're putting them into your home, and you don't know how they live.
Yep.
A car rental is usually a weekend or a week or a trip, but these people are living there in the way that they were raised, or the way that they're whatever, and they're in there for a year. So when you're neglecting to hold the standards of the lease and not give lease violations and not police that, when you actually sit back and wait for the roof to fall off, that isn't very good property management. You're putting yourself in a reactive state. Yep. Versus being proactive. And sometimes it is kind of silly, and sometimes there are complaints oh, this guy had his kid singing in the room, and I want to complain on him, but it's some of that is apartment living as well. So yeah, but as long as they're protecting the asset, which is your property, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and it comes, one of the reasons, and we'll probably cover this later, is why you get a property manager, so you don't have to deal with those situations. Today, a case in point was, we got 2 apartments both complaining. One was that a gentleman was swearing, but they're not sure what unit it was. And the flip was, someone was complaining that there were kids bouncing basketballs in the apartment above them, and they don't know that they both turned in complaints. But we know on that side, it's like, okay, well, it happened, but is this really a violation of anyone's rights? Is there any real problems? But it's just, that's one of the reasons, like, we field those calls as property managers so that you, the owner, don't have to jump at every complaint, because there are variations and things, variables that these are, like water's coming in, we're on that, fired, anything like that. But some of the stuff is like, you know what, that is just part of apartment living. Like, so that's why it costs that much to be there, or, it is the shape it is. So
last piece I would like to add to risk mitigation is one of the tools that we put in our toolbox is we actually made a spreadsheet with formulas for the seven things we look for in a tenant.
Yeah.
So it's the 7 things that we look for in every single tenant, and it just takes the guessing out, it takes the emotion out, it takes anything out of the equation. You can just plug these in. It's a credit score. It's I don't remember all of them exactly, but basically it's just a spreadsheet that we came up with. Every tenant goes through it, and we are willing to work with some of these people that people sometimes have tough times. Life happens.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we get it, but we put them through this. It's our risk mitigation calculator. We put them through it. It's the 7 points, every single tenant, and we're willing to work with them a little bit. Do you want to explain like how that score works a little bit?
Yeah.
How we come up with some of that fee?
So basically we just created metrics because life happens. You get sick, you get in a car accident, you get divorced, you graduate with a ton of student debt, you let credit cards ruin your credit. I mean, there's so many variables. Sometimes, you got arrested, minor in consumption at 18 or 19, whatever. There's so many variables to life. So we start with what's ideal, and that's like the full score you can get. So if you have that 620 plus credit score, even 700, like perfect. You pay your bills on time, and then we can look at delinquencies. Like some people have good credit, but they have periods of delinquency. It's like, hey, that's going to take off a little bit of points for that because you make decent money. In fact, even income has one. If you don't quite make the ideal, which for us is typically 3 times rent, we can make exceptions, but it's going to affect that score. Of course, your background check, if there is problems, like we do rent to felons in particular cases, there are certain situations we work. But it all like an eviction, like we just straight up, if there was an eviction in the last 2 years or 3 years, we just don't rent, because the risk is too high to move them in and have the same problem. Cause at the end of the day, enforcing the lease says, hey, you owe money, you probably left stuff in the unit, we're gonna have to go fix and clean, and then we're gonna try to go after with the debt collection service with someone who already proved they don't have money. So in essence, we lose, the owner really loses, and then we're stuck at ground zero, just negative thousands. So, but yeah, sorry, getting off on a tangent there. But yeah, I mean, that's why we do the scoring thing, because it's like, this is the ideal, but we can work with people because, I mean, this is nothing on this subject, but one of my favorite things about our company is that we actually try actively to improve people's credit.
Yeah.
It's not that everyone wants to be a homeowner. I mean, it's the dream, but it's not for everyone. So having better credit means, hey, maybe I can move from my 1970s, eightplex to my 1990 town twin home or something brand new. Maybe I can go from the beater that got me through high school to a nice truck. I mean, we want to help them move along because so many times you get nothing for renting.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things like, hey, if you pay on time with us, we'll improve your credit, hopefully improve your life. And that also is a risk mitigation in and of itself, because if they know that what they do in this property is going to affect their financial future, they'll take better care of it, which then goes back on the owners, less expenses. So it is a cycle.
Yep, 100%. Last thing to wrap up that up is just if you're a property manager listening to this or a self-ran owner, to me, there's 2 big things with any sort of relationship in your life is expectation and onboarding. So I know I mentioned it a little bit before, but one of the last things I want to talk about with operations is there was someone who told me that that was very successful with property management. They said the only time that someone should be calling a property management company is they're either interested to have a manager property or it's a tenant wondering about availability. Other than that, you should not be getting phone calls. If you're getting phone calls after you move someone in for 30 days of where to pay the rent, or where to bring the garbage, I would strongly urge you to look at your onboarding system, because it's literally like onboarding an employee, a teammate, anyone like that. So really circle back and look at your onboarding process, and it'll save you a lot of headache, and it'll make things a little more simple down the line. Not easy, but a lot more simple.
Yeah. So the principle that I love, I think it was Myron Golden said it, the easy hard principle. It's harder to screen up front rather than just take the money that's in the hand with a not great tenant. Setting that expectation for the move-in, for your vendors, for even your own team, for owners, what to expect. Spend the time. It usually takes me 3 to 6 hours to really do a good owner onboarding, because one, we have to learn their needs and their wants, and then we have to look at the property itself. Is it something that fits what Legacy stands as part of our core values? Do they want what we want? And then on top of that, then we have to teach them our owner agreement to make sure that how we run our business fits their model. And then we get to go through and actually show them our software, so that how the reports read, how to turn in this, how to read that, what to expect of us, what days to expect the deposit. So if they have to call me and say, hey, what day am I getting paid? It's like, okay. And I understand that at some points you're drinking through a water hose, which is why I separate these meetings out instead of just saying, hey, let's sit down one afternoon and I'm going to walk out with a 6-page document and good luck. I mean, it's quite a bit, but what we were talking about though was the operation side, because, as you said earlier, there's our two clients, the tenants and the owners, but we have vendors. So we have to say, hey, this is what we expect of you, vendor. And you always say this from the remodeling world, is the worst thing you can do is show up and say, oh, it's time and material. Like, oh yeah, this bathroom needs a redo. Just bill me and let me know.
Open your checkbook. Yeah. Write a blank check to them.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it where, it took you a whole week to do what we used to do in a day. Like, cool. So now you want a 40-hour paycheck for something that I could have paid someone a flat rate to remodel. Like, not a good situation for us, the managers, but terrible for the owners. In essence, we lose because in that case, we ate it, because it was like, yeah, we didn't set the expectation. Like, this is how long the job should take. This is what you should do. So,
yeah.
The other part, I mean, we can go for days on that. I'll try to keep it.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're trying to supercharge our business is we're building up a ClickUp system, which is automated. If you haven't looked up ClickUp, it's absolutely crazy, the capabilities of what this tool can do. And we're building that in to eliminate a lot of any missteps or any of that, just to kind of hone in on, I don't want to take the human out of it, because you do need a little human in there. But I do think that ClickUp could be a huge complement to the chaos of which property management is, of getting it honed in and getting it dialed in.
So basically, for anyone who doesn't use technology like that, it's a workflow process. So if you imagine I had 7 folders behind me hanging on the wall, and let's do a unit turn. Okay, tenant's moving out, I start the file. And then they're going to do the pre-unit move out inspection. Maintenance guy takes it, looks, makes a list of all the damages, moves it to the next folder. And then the leasing agent, who's actually going to do the move out, walk through with the tenant, sign off checklist, they move it to theirs when they're done. And so imagine like that physical moving of information, but in a digital form. So that way, all the documents are there, the checklist, the expectations.
And automated.
And yeah, it's automated. So you don't have to like, hey, Steve, I just did this. It's done. But because what we can do with that is we can build in this communication. Because like the last pillar we talked about, you could be doing an amazing job, but if no one knows, is it good?
Yep.
So that's where that last pillar of a really good, what property management should be doing, is communicating. Yep. What's good, what's bad, what the future should be, what recommendations, and then just why they're doing it. So
yeah. So Bill, why would someone need a property manager, or when does it make sense to hire one? Me and my wife, we just got a rental property. It's our first one, so super excited about that. But the daughter moved into it. So it's literally a transfer. There's no, I obviously have to do the maintenance of it. So at this point, it doesn't make sense to throw it into our system. But when she moves out and gets her own house, then obviously it kind of needs to be put into the system. But my point is when does it make sense to start looking at a property manager and when to hire one?
So most property managers start in their backyard. Is the phrase I'll steal from Robert Kiyosaki. Like, my first house was a duplex. So it was very easy. My tenant, Rich, lives in my basement. And he would just hand me cash and I would deposit it. If he had a complaint, he'd just come upstairs and, bro, this sucks, you know? But the reality is, one, if you move away, if you're no longer present, it can definitely be done, but you have to know who you're with. And if you're just starting, you don't have your power team yet. You don't have that absolutely trustworthy handyman that can fix anything. You don't have your plumber who will show up for you. You just don't have those things. So unless you already built that, most people just, you're gone. And then there's the scale. I could do about 8 units with myself and partners. That was pretty easy, pretty low maintenance because it only ever have like one vacancy, one issue. But as soon as you start to scale, the time requirement goes up. If you have 2 vacant units you're showing, you're losing 2, 3, 4 hours a day to just leasing. So it's really that scale tipping point. So for us, basically when we had 80 doors, it was impossible to run it all and do it well. So that's the other part is if you start noticing like, oh, I wish I had time for, if you hear those words in your head, it's probably time to start looking for it. Or what usually happens is we get the people who are like, I am so sick of dealing with XYZ. So when you start running out of patience for your tenants and you start getting snappy or like you're carrying emotion or pressure or weight on your shoulders from having these properties, it's probably time to talk to a professional because they're having their emotion, but for us as property management, we can't keep it personal. We can't take it personal. Like they're having their best or worst day. We're the easy one to get kicked at. So if you're having just emotional baggage and stress from having properties, it's also a time. But those are some of the negatives. Like we've experienced like our gentleman who is deployed. He doesn't want to sell a house. He just needs us to fill the time gap. So he just knows for this time, I'm going to be gone. I don't want to just pay 2 mortgages. So in this case, we're just helping him out, fill the gap, recoup some losses, get some free mortgage payments. We'll handle the headache. And then when he comes back from deployment, we'll fix the house up if there's any damages and move on.
Yeah. Or if you're completely blind to it, like you don't know anything about even rental or lease or anything like that, That's probably a good cue to add on to that as far as needing or wanting it. And when the market was really low, I mean, it got like, I don't know the rates, but I think it got pretty low at some point.
Oh yeah.
Recently, and there's some people who are locked in at a pretty low rate. Maybe they've either kids are out to college and they don't need as big of a house, or maybe they've grown and they need more space.
Yep.
That could actually be an option too of looking at, keeping it, because literally, when you think about property management or investment properties, the thing that really rang my bell was like, you're basically leveraging someone else's money to pay your mortgage.
100%.
And that was the difference between, it's still an investment because you're still making it. But some people look at it like, I need cash flow. Like I need to be taking home $1,000 a month on this property. But they don't realize that you're actually leveraging that mortgage payment too. So you're actually leveraging an asset. So.
Yep. Yeah. We actually work with a lot of people. We call it trapped by interest rates. I'm a realtor as well, so I deal with this where it's like, oh, if I want to even get 100,000 more house, it's going to cost me double what I'm paying with my 2 or 3% interest rate. So the cool thing is that rate is so low, we can help them. We'll manage the property or even just screen it. Like Casey's next step with when his daughter moves out, we have the tools. We can screen the tenant, and if he just wants to take care of it himself, collect the rent himself, that's fine. So we help a lot of people make that transition where they have no interest in being a landlord, but they have such a great difference between what the rent is versus what their payment is. They can actually take hundreds home a month, but you always have to put a portion away. Like a quick side note, always have enough for your deductible and at least 1 or 2 appliances, always, because I typically lose about 1 appliance every 4 years, but at scale, that means every year I'm replacing appliances. So, but that's just another way people get to it is, in fact, I have another one to add to that. There are some landlords who do great, but it's all on them. They're afraid to reach out. So like we even created a program that says, hey, are you going on vacation, landlord? Like, for a small fee, we will onboard your units into our system, and we have a 24/7 answering system, or I should say call center, that human beings answer the phone. But go on vacation, we'll take care of your property, and then give it back to you when you come back. Like, it's not a 1 year you have to commitment. It's like, we get it. Like, we have businesses, we travel. Like sometimes you just need someone to take care of your 5 to midnight and give you some weekends or give you that vacation. So there's so many ways people end up landlords. Have another one. Father moves into a nursing home, paid off house. So, okay, let's rent it out, help pay for the nursing home, give them a little cash. And so we set up that whole system as well, because they needed the money, but they didn't want to sell the house at that time. So,
yeah, I think when people get put in certain situations, sometimes it's like, first thing that goes to their mind is, I'm not actually living in this house and I can't afford it. So the first thing, and I'm not trying to take away from your realtor side or your realtor hat, but they sometimes I don't think they understand that they can still leverage that, to put that. I wanted to touch brief on, what if someone is interested in exploring having a property manager, but maybe they're pretty handy and they want to do some of the work? Or what if they can go in and check on the unit, or they want to go clean, or like, do you have like one-off options that help with some of that, instead of just the full immersive, like, I'm diving face first into this property management thing?
This is probably its whole own episode, but it is very common, and we're no different in this respect. If you make more money per hour than the small percentage we take to manage your property, then you really should be using a property manager. Like, I think of our client here in this town that has an excavation company, I believe. It's like, okay, he's charging $250, $300, $400 an hour to be out there working, versus that is 5, 6, 8 hours of us working. So it's like, yeah, for him, it's a no-brainer. He can make way more money taking care of stuff working than if he was there resetting a wax ring for a toilet, so there's that reason to switch. But also with our very handy landlords, we have a handful of them that we just put them up in our system, and we get the call, hey, this is happening. We call the owner. Do you want to deal with it, or should we? And it's kind of 50-50. If it's like, nope, we'll run over and take care of it, sweet. And then sometimes they're like, heck no, I'm too busy, I'm doing this. Okay, we take care of it. So we're not just like life situations, there's not a one-size-fits-all for property management. Not all companies will do that, but we are flexible because we want to help people. We're not here just to make money. We're here to help and raise the bar of what property management is. So,
yeah, we're excited about investment properties, and I feel like our clients should be excited about investment properties as well. So if there's just one-off services that you need help with, reach out. If you just need help with a lease, if you just need help filling a unit, if you just need help on some of that, like, we're definitely not out to take all your money. The thing is we're running a business, so we want to keep our doors open. At the end of the day, we want to be able to be there.
Well, like the one-off leasing, we have a gal who's used us twice to fill an apartment. Her mom, it's a side-by-side, and her mom's 93 years old. She's not out there running background checks on the daily and doing all that, so we filled a unit for her. She was very grateful for the last time and used us again. So, yeah, we meet owners where they are. But, again, that scale question, that time question, we want to make sure that when it's time, we had those 4 pillars before, like, you have to identify if they are a good property management company, and then to find out if you're ready, do you have the time to do a good job with these? Are you up to code? Are you compliant? Do you have the right legal? So it's a lot. But really, if you start having those questions in your head, like, God, I'm not being able to do what I need to, and you, as a property owner, like, have the conversation. They're typically free. And sometimes even just having the conversation, I can see the shoulders relax, and they're like, I don't have to take the 10 p.m. call or the Thanksgiving every single year, because in North Dakota we start to get cold then. Like, sweet. How many furnaces went out a couple weeks ago when the high was negative 15?
So let's flip the coin. Who is property management not for? I think.
Let me get the list.
Well, I look back early into our endeavor of property management, and I look early, and you're starting a business, so you're excited, and I think every business owner is guilty of this, but you kind of get to be a yes man, and you just say, it's not even a question or a doubt. You're not qualifying your leads, none of that stuff. You're in this almost state of hunger where it's like, I just want as much as I can get. So you get these owners that reach out to you, hey, can you manage my property? And you're not even thinking about none of the schematics, or you don't care about any of the history of the property or the owner or their intentions or their expectations. And you're just like, yes. And this was, we had a couple that we learned the hard way. Just nice kind of saying no, but Bill, who is property management not for?
So I'm gonna say this with a grain of salt, but it's hard to say the right way. Long story short, if they just want the cheapest thing possible, there's no one cheaper than yourself per se. So if they're gonna complain about every single charge, it's like, well, we're already doing it as efficiently as possible. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a profitable business. We're trying to save you money, but we want to do it the right way. Like, if you're going to penny pinch and complain about everything, like, that's just not our thing. And that also goes into like, hey, you have to make this repair. Like, this needs to happen. And they don't want to respond. They just avoid it. Like, okay, now our reputation's on the line. The tenant's happiness with us is on the line. Like, this is a whole cluster of things that could go wrong. Like, so they have to be willing and able to improve their property. So I get on the backside of that, it's
not only improve, but improve is a bonus, but at least maintain. Like some of these guys don't even want to maintain. They're getting into this investment property game, and they just want to get, it's not our problem that you bought a shithole and you don't want to put any money into it. Like, that's not the properties manager's problem. At the end of the day, we're running a business and we need to keep our doors open. Like, the rates and the fees, it might sound confusing, but have a conversation with your property manager if you don't understand them. But at the end of the day, we need to keep our doors open. We actually were pricing ourselves a little cheap, and we almost didn't make it one year because of that. Yep. And like, we want to keep our doors open. We want to continue doing good things. But at the end of the day, if you're a landlord, you at least, this isn't a money game. You are literally dealing with a person's home. Like, you have human beings living in your home. Like, you at least have to have the common courtesy and the intelligence to at least keep that home that they're renting from you in a livable condition.
Yeah. And we can go down, I mean, kind of like what we talked about last time, why we got into this. Because that's just kind of the standard. Like, the golden rule still works. I mean, there's obviously a lot to think about because we're dealing with so many different levers in property management. But yeah, the people who think they can just skim the cream off the top and never make a repair, they're not a fit for us. I mean, we've seen it, we've dealt with it, and basically it's a race to the bottom. The tenants that are willing to live in a place that doesn't get improved keep getting worse and worse, and that means the damages keep going up and up, and pretty soon you have this gap where they either have to sell it or stick a ton of money into it. And guess what they probably don't have? The money. And guess what the price doesn't have? Any equity, because the value is so low, it's so beat up.
Well, then you can't charge. You could take a 2-bedroom and it could be just a shithole, and you get a crappy tenant in there charging them $400 a month, and you're barely making your mortgage. It's just this vicious cycle that you put yourself into, where it's like, you literally have to improve that property to improve the rent value, to improve the money. Then as you improve the property, improve all that stuff, that you get a better quality tenant in there that takes care, pays on time. You don't have to worry about late charges. They're respectful of the property. So it's literally a vicious cycle either way.
Yeah. Well, and so on the flip side of that, there's the people who just don't want to fix. There's also the people who still are managing, even though they hired a property management company. Like, that also gets in the way because, like, we're trying to build for efficiency. We're getting ClickUp. We're going out of our way to create an efficiency software to make sure that we're saving our owners money, that we're on task, and we can do more. But when they try to micromanage and like, oh, I can do that, or I have someone do that, or, I mean, there's just so many ways to step in. One of the ones we had to learn was like, we had a gentleman try to manage his properties. And he kept sending me leads. And I'm like, these people are problems. It's like, no, they're ready to rent. They have, they had a grant. They had free money.
Yeah, they're desperate.
And at the same time, he was complaining, they keep breaking into my washing machines. I am
filling all the corners.
All the metal is so destroyed from multiple times trying to put locks on it that he couldn't even attach anything to it. It's like, wait a second. So you're having a problem with theft, but you want to keep putting like actual criminals in this unit. It was like, come on. And then, well, I should be able to get the carpet for this. It was like, okay, like they were just not a fit. We want to work with people we want to work with, and at the same time, like if you're questioning, like we get multiple bids and if none of them are good enough, like a micromanager, like if you can't sleep, like I get it, but you're probably not, property management company is not right for you. Now, caring about what's happening to your property is important. That's different. Like looking at your owner's statement, like I can send it to you, we can send it to you, we can do our part. But if you don't do the step of actually looking, reading, making sure it makes sense, that's a problem too. So we're not saying that just because you care is a problem. It's just when you interfere with how the property management company is doing things, try to step in and cut a little corner here, cut that, like you're slowing everything down to the point where it actually hurts the property, hurts our company, and it hurts the tenants who ultimately are paying for your properties. So,
and the one thing I just want to add to that is there's a very, very thin, fine line between micromanaging and one-offs.
Yes.
So just like you're relying on your property management company, if you're going to commit to something, if you're going to commit to cleaning the hallways, or you're going to commit to collecting the quarters, or you have your sister's a cleaner or whatever, you need to commit to be there, to be in that timely manner with it. So, and that expectation just needs to be set with your property manager. You can't just, go wishy-washy, like 1 month I'm going to handle maintenance, I'm going to handle this, and then you disappear for a month. Like, okay, well, no, I got busy, and then now all of a sudden you're looking at your property manager like, well, why didn't you guys handle that? So there's this being involved and then not being involved when you want to be and when you don't want to be. That's where you really need to set the standard of like, okay, are we a one-off on this? Are you one-off on that? Like, what is the...
So that's that whole onboarding expectation thing that we talked about. Proactive. We have someone who has a cleaner. Sweet. Well, cleaner, what day of the week are you going to do what you say? How fast? What are you going to charge? What would cause you to charge more or less? Like, it takes a while. I remember I worked for a remodeling company, and I just remember having to write a whole paragraphs talking about a window install. And it's like, dude, it's a window. We're just gonna throw a window in, like bad window out, new window good. But it's like, actually, there's installation, there's trim, it's an insert, it's a full remodel. Are you doing the casing? Are you wrapping? It was like, okay, I guess, yeah. When you really break it down, there's a lot into it, but having that expectation up front means you have a happy customer at the end rather than an angry one. Because even if you do a good job, if it's not what they expected, it's still bad.
Yeah. As we close this thing out, obviously we wanted to give you guys a briefing on Property Manager, and we are literally going to dive down the rabbit hole of all these. These will all be everything that we've pretty much talked about, our upcoming episodes that we can spend a whole conversation on. But as we land this thing and as we wrap this up, Bill, what does good property management feel like? Like if there's an owner listening to this and they're like, what should they feel stressed about their property? Like what should good property management feel like?
Okay. Well, a good property management, one, you should feel informed. You should be calm. Now, things can happen that can mess with that, like weather, all sorts of things happen. But really, on a normal keel for most months of the year, you should be relaxed. Actually, our goal is to make property management pretty boring, unless you're actively trying to grow. And then there's the whole can we leverage this to buy that? That's a whole different part. But you really should know what's happening, and then you should know what's going to happen. So that's that whole strategy part. Okay, we're going to focus on this, and then at the fall we're going to do this, and we should be able to raise rent like this, and then we're going to do this, and having that long-term view, okay, I know that this property is, one, taken care of. I don't have to worry about any crazy calls outside, Mother Nature, and that there's a plan to improve or, increase rent. So that way you have the long road. You don't have to worry about any crazy phone calls outside, like I said, actual issues. Because the whole goal of us, why we want to have boring property management, is summarized in no surprises. You shouldn't have a surprise on your bill. You shouldn't have a surprise when you get paid. You shouldn't have a surprise when you don't get paid. So that's really the summary, is no surprises, as close as we can get.
Yeah. At the end of the day, property management isn't about collecting rent. It's about protecting assets, reducing risks, and building long-term value.
So yeah, if you're constantly wondering what's happening with your property or what's happening, if you're just wondering what's going on, it might be time to think about talking to a management company. If you just can't rest or you're always afraid you're going to get those calls, like a real property management will offer you processes, structure, and really at the end of the day, we want peace of mind.
Yep.
So that's
it.
Yeah.
If this episode added value to you and you think you know someone that could add value, please share.
Yep.
Bill, where can they find you if they want to reach out to you?
The easiest one is just find me on Instagram at Bill Dean Homes. So just my name, Bill Dean, and then Homes.
Yep.
And how about you?
I'm on Instagram, Fix It All. Instagram, it's Casey Bernard Fixed It, and then Casey Bernard on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to check out Legacy Property Solutions, if you're interested in any of that, check us out at lpsnd.com. If not, like, subscribe, all the good things, share, post, follow.
Yeah, and either on our website or directly DM us if you have questions. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, we don't know everything. We're learning every day as well, but that's the whole point, is we're trying to improve ourselves, improve the company, and improve property management as a whole. So
awesome. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Awesome. Have a good day, everyone.